Right. Shalom, Shalom Yahweh. This is a personal, heartfelt message, personally from me, to my partner. And I will also throw in some ranty bits afterwards. But this message is solely from my partner. I need to speak to him in person. So I will do as I always do, is go slightly off topic and, well, ranty. But, it's at the end of the day, I'm just, I've made some notes, so I know what I want to say. Yeah, it just makes it easier. Darren, well, first of all, I'm going to say, is obviously I'm addressing my partner, but I'm also going slightly off as well. I might address people who are watching, but the usual, the same as I always do with every single one of my YouTube videos. I'm gonna respond. I don't respond to troll comments or positive comments or any comments usually. I just, if it's something positive, then I'll acknowledge it. That's but I don't acknowledge anything if it's, you know. But I did actually respond to a troll comment, and I will say something at the end of this video. I will say, lay off the cannabis. Just a word of advice: lay off the cannabis. And I will say something at the end of the video, but it's kind of humorous, really. I say humorous, but so I've made some notes here. Darren, I do need to talk to you in person. I mean, this is not, I'm not reading off a script here. I've just made some notes because, it is, I don't like, I can't stand this. I never wanted a YouTube channel. I can't stand this. I'm an amateur YouTuber. I'm an amateur woman of Yahweh. And by the way, I hope you have had a peaceful Shalom Shabbat, Yahweh. And I'm speaking from the heart, as I always do, but I'm, making this as gentle as I can. Because I'm doing what I should be doing, what is very difficult to do, but what I should do. I never wanted a Facebook account. I said upon Facebook's inception, when was it? 2006. I said, oh, how sad, Facebook. What sad people would, and then because of social engineering, because of, I never wanted to be on the internet because I don't like the internet. I'm old fashioned. And there are actually a lot of people out there who, praise Yahweh, are like me. They want to go back to the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, and they don't have mobile phones. It was actually Tanya, my eldest sister, who said, oh, you've got to have a mobile phone when was it, 2001? You've got to, and the ex-boyfriend said to me, oh my gosh, did you see how she screamed at you because you didn't have the mobile phone that she bought me when I took her dog for a walk? When I Bono, see, this is where I go off on tangents, but Bono loved me. I loved Bono like I love my mother, like I love you. I know that might sound strange, Darren, but you know that. I love, you know, when you feel a love, like love from Abba Yahweh, a real spiritual, a very deep love. Well, you are the only person I felt that way about apart from my mother, and I felt that way about Bono, Tanya's German Shepherd, which is strange because you would have thought that I would have felt that way about our Ken Terrier Geordie. But Geordie didn't do what Bono did. When Tanya made me cry, Bono, who had also been on the receiving end of Tanya, he put his head right here from behind. I didn't encourage him when I was crying, and he embraced me and he sniffed my tissue. He really, really felt my pain because he too had felt pain from Tanya, caused by Tanya, my sister. Her dog and her sister comforting each other because we've both been on the receiving end of her screaming and shouting. And Bono, I loved Bono like he was a family member. Now, German Shepherds are the closest related to the wolf. Yes, they're man-made. That's why Iris loved German Shepherds. Iris owned German Shepherds when I was probably before I was born, actually. Mum's best friend Iris. They were the first dogs that I had ever been introduced to were Iris's dogs, and they were German Shepherds. And they are the closest related to the wolf, but they have to be put down early because as you know, they're man-made, so it's not natural. It's quite cruel when you think about it that these beautiful dogs are man-made. They're not made by Abba Yahweh, which is why their back legs go. It's man is evil. So there's a kind of irony in this because I don't agree with any breed of dog that's been man-made is cruel, and yet they're the most beautiful, most intelligent of all the dogs because they're closely related to the wolf. So I've gone off on a tangent there. I don't even know where I'm going with all of this. Um, where was I going with this one? So if I can stay on track here. Yeah, I was talking about mobile phones and then I talked about taking the dog for a walk. It was Tanya who got me to have a mobile phone. I never wanted a mobile phone. I never wanted. So when I joined Facebook in 2011, oh, look, Darren, I'm going off on a tangent here. I need to talk to you in person. I absolutely hate this. I'm just doing this for therapy, you know? It just makes me feel better. I got to talk to you in person because I'm saying there are things that I don't want to talk to you. I've been trying to keep anything that I want to say to you. I really don't want to say, but you know I'm in a dark place because of what's been happening. Anyway, so I just finished what I was saying. The only reason why I joined Facebook was after Mum died. It was a few months after I got into that flat after I took an overdose. and the domestic abuse. I had no one. I was struggling for all those years on my own, and it was someone in the Adamant community from Prince's Risborough uh, which is the next station from High Wycombe, which is where I was born. He messaged me. He put a post up saying, "Welcome to the rest of your life." And I thought, well, this is the beginning of the end. That was what I thought. Because I thought, I'm so isolated and I can't stand this. I need human contact, right? Uh, so, and I can't stand Facebook. I can't stand it. I can't stand social media. I can't stand any of this. I only set up this YouTube channel out of desperation when it was, my first ever YouTube video that's got no sound on it. And because I'm a technophobe. So now it's got sound. This is a miracle. It's a miracle that I've managed to sell something on eBay. These are big achievements for me. Mum and grandma would be just so proud of me because grandma was 3 years away from being Victorian. Mum was Georgian, and Mum said I was like a Jane Austen lady. So I'm an old soul, I tell you what, Darren, on every single level, I can relate. I just feel like there's no one else in this world for me other than you. And I'm not trying to butter you up. You know what I'm like, but I need to talk to you in person because I don't like this. I'm doing this because I make this YouTube because I'm distressed. And I don't need to explain for hours on end why. It's all there. So anyway, I don't want to make this video hours long, so I want to get to the point, which is why I've made notes so that I try not to go off on all these, tangents. So I need to talk to you in person. I'm having to contact someone that you know. I love you, and I don't want to, and I feel really embarrassed about it and awkward, and I'm not going to say anything about it on here. I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not even going to allude to who they are. I need to talk to you, Darren. And that last video I made, because of the dark place I'm in, I'm going to put it on my Facebook wall along with the messages from my father again. Because I am still in this, but I'm praying for us. It's really a good thing. I wrote this down. It's really healthy for us to have space. It's healthy, especially when when the enemy is using people and confusion and deception. Um, it's healthy. And you and I know that you get the same videos as me. Like I know that because the black American guy who does this. When you did that, I knew exactly what you meant. So that made me laugh. It's good to talk about something positive. It's good to, you know, yeah. So, do you get those better help advertisements on your YouTube? Because there's a woman saying that that do you get anxious about your partner and it's part of the ad for BetterHelp. And she said, what you may have is what I've have an avoidant attachment style. And I reckon that is what you and I have both got, because we're both very similar. Now, you know that I don't like labels. I think labels are abused by people. There's a lot that I don't like to talk, because I know how labels are abused by narcissists. And, you know, a psychiatrist actually said to another patient, was talking to me in the psychiatric unit, and she said, oh, I think I might be autistic, but the psychiatrist said it's not a helpful diagnosis. Well, everyone's on the autistic spectrum, every single human being, but they won't tell you that. And everyone's in a different place, as you say, and everybody's different. You could have a billion people, all with the same labels, the same life experiences. Every single one of those people is completely different. They might react in similar ways, but everybody's different. The mold was broken when Abba Yahweh made us. He made us in his image, but we're all different. Anyway, I don't need to say that, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, so I've said what I wanted to say about, you know, it's good to have healthy to have space. But I'm saying a lot of private things on here only because of all of this evil and all the torture I've suffered, and because I'm completely isolated. And that's the only reason why I'm doing this. I can't stand this. I can't stand, you know that, because you know me. And you said to me, oh, well, you're talking to yourself. I don't, probably, yeah. Well, we know that there are some vile creatures watching me, but thankfully, I'm hoping and praying that there is a woman of God. There's a woman of God, Yahweh, who is watching me. Uh, like I said in the last video, there's a woman from America who I've added on to. I've accepted her friend request, so the spirit is going to the right places. Someone commented on her wall saying Yeshua, and instead of Yahshua, YAH, it's got to have the father's name. But like I said, everybody's in a different place. But because I want to say something, and I can say it to you when I see you, but I'll say it in this video. I've seen a video by there are 3 parts to this YouTube video, and it's fascinating. Vanity. I said Denise Williams, I meant Denise Matthews. The singer Denise Matthews, whose stage name was Vanity, she actually wanted to call herself Vagina. Can you believe that? Vagina. Crazy. That is the craziest, I think. I can't understand what literally possessed her to think that that would be acceptable, because even in this day and age, you couldn't say, oh, there's a girl group, and one of the girls has called herself Vagina. um this is Prince's ex-girlfriend, and she also dated Adamant, and Prince beat up Adamant. I've said this many times. um do you know what, like I said, like I said, anyone else watching this, I'll explain this. Adamant wrote to me when he was making the Channel 4 documentary about his demons of mental illness. And when he wrote to me, he actually put in the letter my demons of mental illness. So, repetition for emphasis. In recent years, I've learnt that Adamant, like all these rock stars, they worship Baphomet and several other. Well, Michael Jackson. Oh, there's a whole YouTube video. I haven't seen it all, but a pastor who is talking about all the different idols that Michael Jackson worshipped, and there were several of them. And one of them was, because I used to be in the Catholic Church, and there's still so much I don't know. Michael Jackson worshipped, the image of Jesus Christ, the false Christ of Yeshua, which is what they use it in the Catholic Church, where he's got a light behind his head. I've already forgotten the name of the god, but it's just like how Saint Mary, you're not meant to, it's divination, you're not meant to pray to dead people. The girl who gave birth to our Saviour Yeshua has no significance whatsoever, but the church has used Ishtar, Esther, and placed the mother, Miriam's, i.e., St. Mary. It's the same thing. And these satanic pagan gods that are used in the Catholic Church were what Michael Jackson used, and there's a pastor talking all about that. But there is a I'm excited talking about it. There is an interview with Joan Rivers, and it's in 3 parts, where Vanity, and I'll just add Adamant, my favorite, one of my favorite Adamant albums, one of the 2, was the Strip album, and Adamant sang a song called Vanity about vanity. I just thought I'd throw that in. But I've explained how I was an idolater, and I idolized Adamant. And Stuart Goddard, this Darren already knows this, but this information is out. I'm putting it out there in case anybody else doesn't know. Stuart Goddard wrote to me as Stuart Goddard and not Adamant, and he actually put, I'm making a documentary about my demons of mental illness. Now, in this interview from 1982, a TV interview with Joan Rivers, now, like I said, that Adamant worship Baphomet, like a lot of the. I've even got the evidence of him doing the Baphomet pose and all that. There's this interview, and whilst I'm very suspicious of anything that comes out of Hollywood, there's this Hollywood pastor who he's called Tim Perrior, and he comes on in part 2, I think. In part 1, Vanity Denise Matthews is talking about because the thing is, you got to be careful of all the fake teachers, like Joel Osteen. They do the satanic hand gestures, all these false teachers, and what's her name? Joyce Myers. Joyce Myers is doing the Egyptian thing. Adamant did it as Prince Charming. It's also incorporated into X Factor and Skull and Crossbones, because Adamant had the Skull and Crossbones. And you know about the Skull and Crossbones Club, which President Bush and all these other presidents came out of all of that. So anyway, so yeah, I can relate to Denise Matthews, aka Vanity, because she, as a child, now I was not abused horrifically in the way that she was, and Prince. She and Prince had horrific traumatic childhoods. But I can relate to a degree when it comes to childhood trauma, to a degree. And I can relate to Denise Williams' Vanity when she says, she said people told her to let it go. That is the narcissistic validation that I've had endlessly, so I can relate to that. Now, she started off as a believer in YHWH, Jesus Christ, and she used to, as a child, she would preach the Bible to her siblings, but because of the childhood trauma, hers was so extreme that she went heavily into a sexualized, she got used by men to, and then she ended up taking drugs and so on and so forth. And it's something that anyone could be drawn into. I've never taken drugs, but I can relate to the sexualization. And because Adamant, as a rock star, I was an idolater because I was idolizing him. So I, as a child, I too, whilst I never actually read the Bible, I used to do the sign of the, you shouldn't do these pagan rituals because it is still pagan. I had a holy water thing above my bed in Seaford when I was 11 years old, and I had a picture of the Jesus. You know, I call it the picture that looks like E.T. because do you remember E.T? E.T.'s got Illuminati programming in it as well, but I used to think as a child that E.T. reminded me of our Saviour because not only does he come back from the dead, he too is pointing to his open heart, and he's got that white robe on when, you know, when he comes back from the dead, and he's pointing to his heart like this. He's got his hand like this. And I had a picture above my bed of our Saviour with an open heart, with a white robe on, doing the same thing. But that is a false Christ, because that is the same pagan god that the Catholics use. I've forgotten what he's called. I'd have to watch the video again, and I'd have to write down the name of the pagan god. But it's a pagan god. It's not Yeshua that Michael Jackson, that this pastor was saying that he was talking to a massive auditorium of people about everything that Michael Jackson was involving himself in, and the Hall of Mirrors. You know, he had a famous. He said how he had a wall of moving mirrors, and that's also incorporated into MK Ultra, and they used it on Stuart Goddard, aka Adamant. Now, Darren, I would like just to also like to add that Darren, my partner, and I, when we first got together, he said, "Let's pray for Stuart Goddard, aka Adamant." Because honestly, I can't listen to Adamant anymore. I did listen to the Vanity song because I haven't listened to it since I knew that that song was actually for Denise Williams, Matthews, sorry. And but I honestly, I can't listen to Adamant without feeling like I want to vomit, because of the idolatry and the sin. In fact, just talking about it, makes me feel queasy. So because I know what these rock stars who they've idolized and I've idolized them. So there are so many demons, so many demons. Um, I mean, when Yeshua delivered that man, that demon possessed man, he said his name was Legion, which means one of many, many. So anyway, so I've got to try and keep on track because I keep um going slightly off. So what I'm trying to say, so what was I saying? So this three-part interview, I know it's sometimes listening to me is like the slow death, I know, but I'll try and make this as easy as I can, to digest. So this, I'm saying this to my partner, but I'm also saying this in case anyone is listening because I think people can learn from it as I have. I'd rather talk to you in person, Darren, but I'm just want to get this off my chest because it's one of those things. Um, it's it is trivial, but it might be of interest. So this interview with Vanity, bearing in mind, Darren, before you came along, I was jealous of all these women, because I was still chasing after Adamant, don't forget, in my fantasy mind, don't forget, Iris and Mum made me believe that he called round for me one time. Yeah, your rock star hero, the one that you idolize, is like, oh, he's knocked on the door. I was in bed as well. I'd been in bed all day. It was my day off from doing care work, and because I've this is what trauma and mental exhaustion does to you. You spend most of your time sleeping, and my mum and Iris were like, he's called round for you, and I'm like, what? Um, and I quickly got myself washed and dressed, didn't I? uh, and my mum went mad cleaning the toilet, and yeah, Iris thought that was funny. Um, and she said, Iris and I are going out, and if Adamant does pop round for a cup of tea and we're not here, I give you permission to take one of my homemade jellies to give to him. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, now I'm going off on one. I find all of this quite amusing to talk about. But so anyway, my mother liked Joan Rivers, and as you know, Darren, Joan Rivers, like all these others, even Prince died not long after he's exposed chemtrails. He had a mysterious death. They've all had mysterious deaths. Even Adamant's punk friend, who worked across the road from our house in Seaford as a veterinary nurse. I mean, Bronya had shown her pictures that I'd drawn. I even drew a picture of her, and she was like, "Oh, it's me." And I won't say how she described me to my sister because it would sound big-headed. But she said, maybe I could build bridges with my sister. And now she's died a mysterious death. I've this earlier this year had the police arrest me because I refused to call my sister a man. So anyone in America should hear this because this is big stuff. It's usually the people that don't have a big platform. You often want to listen to those ones. Let just test the spirit because then you'll know if I'm telling the truth or not. Test the spirit. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, so as I'm saying, so what was I saying? So all of this is obviously happening for a reason, because I've just seen this interview with Vanity, aka Denise Matthews, um, a Playboy, a blonde Playboy model, and um, a stripper who comes on in the third part, half naked, and they've all been delivered. They're all talking about the same thing. But like you said, everything that comes out of Hollywood, this Tim Perrier is a Hollywood pastor. So you've got to be very careful. It's not obvious with him, but it's obvious with people like Joel Osteen, who's doing the 666 and the devil horns and all of that. And of course, Joyce Meyer doing the Egyptian crossing of the and all the other stuff. Whereas this was an interview from 1992. But in part one, it's very interesting to see how Joan Rivers is her audience is really touched. Well, you can just see, just look at a couple of people's reactions, you can just feel it. And she's very curious. Now, Joan Rivers, as you know, she was Jewish, not that I mean anything by that. And she had a mysterious death. She died shortly after she said that Michelle Obama was a man, and she said there's that clip of her where she's saying, "Oh, everybody knows that Michelle Obama's a man," and then she died mysteriously. Now, Adamant's punk friend who got Adamant to write to me, she's on a list of mysterious deaths, and it's on Mark Devlin's Facebook. Well, I think he lost his Facebook, but he has, yeah, exposed it. He was at the Truthers conference. I briefly met him. I had so much to say to him, but he doesn't get 5 minutes to himself because people are buzzing round him. Um, but you and me, Darren, we obviously, you were the one. Well, actually, both of us. I think I might. It was Musical Truths a few years ago, and I said, "What was that guy's name?" And you told me it was Mark Devlin, and then I met him at the Truthers conference with, and one of the speakers was someone who's dated the mother of children I played with in a village not too far from here. Got happy memories of them, and he's exposed Freemasonry, Satanism in a talk. He said the 77 Brigade, his nephew was found in the harbour with concrete tied to his legs for what he was exposing. And it's like, it's right on your doorstep, all this stuff. So, anyway, what I want to say, Joan Rivers, she said, no, I know it's taking me a long time to say this, and I'm really annoyed because I could just get to the point. I'm trying not to read stuff. Um, so I just want to get this out because this is getting on my nerves now. It's taking me so long to say this, and I really I wanted to say this in 10 minutes. So yeah, so in part one of this interview with Joan Rivers, obviously they're all saying Jesus and Jesus Christ because this is before the internet. This is 1992. So nobody's saying Yahweh and Yeshua, right? But never mind. And it's one of those things. And Denise Matthews, aka Vanity, I'll just call her Vanity. She said that in her house when she was dating Prince, when she was famous, and she doesn't go. What I find suspicious is how they They don't talk about their occult practices. They don't talk about Freemasonry. They don't talk about how they don't divulge any of that, because this is Hollywood. There's only so much. The Freemasons think that they won't have karmic reparation. They Freemasons have to put out some information with deception and mix it all up. So they only put out bits and pieces. Um, but she said, in part one, she's saying how a woman came into her house and saw her suspended from the bed, suspended, demonic. Like, we're talking like, if you ever seen, I've never seen it and I wouldn't want to, but The Exorcist. I mean, I've heard that there were people who died in the making of these horror films, and people were screaming and vomiting and trying to get out of the cinema. So I don't want to see that film, thank you very much. But it sounds like that's what happened to Denise Williams. She was demon possessed. She was suspended from her bed, and she said that, because she died around the same time as Prince. So she's what you call a born again Christian. Now I've had trouble. I've always had trouble understanding born again. Um, I've been baptized, but Darren says we need to be baptized in the name of Yahweh. We need to be baptized in his name. It's no good being, we've both, so me and Darren, we've both been, dunked under the water, so to speak, and baptized. Yes, and I take it all very seriously. I was christened into the false satanic Catholic Church. But the Jesus Army were the ones who baptized me. But Darren says it needs to be in the name of Yahweh. So anyway, so realize this is actually very difficult to say, and I understand why, because I'm going through a spiritual warfare right now, and this is why it's difficult for me to get my words out. So I should really have prayed at the start of the video, saying I hope, please help me to make this video appropriate and give me, strength. But basically, Vanity said, I feel a heaviness because they're talking about it. It's difficult. It's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's very difficult to get the words out right now. I'm feeling very irritable. Sometimes the words flow, and sometimes, but basically, in part one of this interview with Joan Rivers, Vanity is saying that she's actually seen demons, so she wasn't just suspended. And then in part two, the Playboy model comes on, and you can see she's still very much in Hollywood, even though she shows a video clip of herself being delivered from demons. Where she's pushed back and they take the demons out of her. A deliverance. Now, Vanity. Now there's a lot of MK Ultra in Hollywood. There's a lot of deception. So we already know that. And like I said, I'm very skeptical of anyone and anything. And because I've got something to say about YouTube. It's just taking me a lot longer than I wanted it to take for me to say all of this. Now, my sister Bronya and her friend Alison saw me when I wasn't there, and this was while I was alive. well, obviously, because I'm still alive now, but when I was a little girl, they saw me when I wasn't there. So it was an apparition, it was an entity that was emulating me as a child. Because I even said to my sister, "Are you sure it wasn't?" And my doll, because I have lifelike big dolls, but that was crazy. Because she said, no, you were sitting like this with your hair over your face, your hair was all over your arm, and you were doing what you always do, you were drawing. I did a lot of drawing as a child, and I've done a lot of drawings, especially in recent years, mostly sexual drawings of Adamant, since I've been chasing after him. But then obviously I stopped all of that, and I've come out of all of that since I've been with Darren. So, and like I said, my mother went to our local vicar. We had the vicarage. Elizabeth, her mother, and her father, the vicar, lived behind our house. Because my childhood best friend reckoned our house was haunted because we lived right behind, or in front of, sorry, a churchyard, which I have wondered this since leaving New Haven, that house in New Haven. It did make me wonder, because there's a graveyard, old gravestones and everything, and it was a bit creepy, and I did have a lot of nightmares, and I even had a nightmare that was like as if I was Heather O'Rourke being sucked back into the house. I had horrible nightmares about that house because there was a lot of weird, like, conversations went on when people went there. They didn't tell me this when I was a child because they didn't want to scare me, but my mother went to Elizabeth's father, the vicar, behind our house to get some holy water, and she shook it around the house. She didn't want to tell anyone this because she felt embarrassed, but she was told by the vicar to sprinkle the holy water and to shout at the demons and the entities to get out of the house and say, "You're not welcome here." My mother, being my mother, and like me, probably would have made it very dramatic, but it is dramatic, it is what it is. But my mother only told me this as an adult because none of them, they didn't want to scare me. She and Bronya saw a UFO, an oval shaped, an unidentified object. But Alan Horvath, he described seeing a UFO. No, it was his friend back in the 60s. But he didn't want to go and see it with his friend. His friend described it, and he just thought, I mustn't go and see this thing because it's not of the truth. There's a reason why we mustn't engage, right? I get it. I totally get it. But my mother and my father had a violent divorce. There are generational curses. There's all this trauma. There were tarot cards in the house. My mother's biological mother, Kay, used to read tea leaves, and she saw that this woman was going to have a baby boy and that it would die, and then it actually happened, and she was terrified and she stopped doing it because she obviously thought it was a bit of harmless fun. You remember that episode of You Rang My Lord where Ivy Teasdale is like, "Oh, I'll read your tea leaves." I mean, we had tea leaves. I used to make a proper, for any Americans out there, I'll tell you how to make a proper English cup of tea one day. You warm up the teapot first. Then you put the amount of tea leaves that you want in the teapot. Leave it to brew. You need a tea strainer, the tea leaves. Some people think it's common to put the milk in first. Some people think it's common to put the milk in afterwards. There you go. And if you have any tea leaves afterwards, that's what I'm talking about. But anyway, so that's a proper English cup of tea, by the way. Pot of English cup of tea. That's why I'm struggling to drink these crappy tea bags. I want to get to the point where I've got a home and a teapot and a tea cosy. I've still got one of my mother made a tea cosy. I've still got that somewhere in all the clutter. Anyway, I've gone off on one, but everything needs to be done in the name of Yahweh. So yeah, but I did think it was quite strange that in part 3 of that interview that they had a stripper come on who actually stripped for the audience, and there's a black and white disassociation dance floor. Yes, that's something that the Freemasons, it's in every Freemason lodge, the disassociation floor that's used in music videos and dance floors for MK Ultra. It's to do with disassociation, the black and the white. Prince, Adamant, and Michael Jackson, they've all used it. All of them have used it. And in part 3 of this interview, the stripper is on the disassociation floor stripping, and then it kind of ends with, and I find this very interesting, Joan Rivers is saying, I've never done anything wrong. When I go to heaven, the audience started applauding because she said, I personally don't feel I need to be born again. I've never hurt anyone. And God, Jesus, is going to say, yep, come in. But this is where she's wrong, you see, because you, Darren, have taught me that we are all murderers. And I have murdered you with my lips. You taught me that because you read the Bible, you read the scripture to me. But even if you hadn't, I hated myself for the things that I said out of hurt. I hated it because, for one thing, I was throwing hurt caused by other people at you, and I love you. And it's always the people we love the most that we hurt the most, because we expect them to be perfect. We don't expect them to ever hurt us. I've treated you like you're my savior, and that's where I've gone, and because of everything that's happened, because I'm throwing extra hurt at you. So yeah, and this is why, you see what I mean? Well, you know that, but I feel the need to, I feel a conviction to make a video saying this. But Joan Rivers did say at the end of it, please pray for me. So like you said, we're all in a different place. She says she's done no wrong. She's never hurt anyone. How does she know that? We don't know if we're hurting people. I know when I've hurt someone. But then there are times when I don't know when I've hurt someone. You've taught me, you've shown me, Darren, that we're all murderers, and I've murdered you. And then, as a result of that, you've then, I'm not saying you've done it intentionally, not as badly as me, but you've then murdered me with words. So, the power of the tongue and all of that. I know you remember You're the one who remembers the scriptures. Yeah, but anyway, I thought that was interesting that Joan Rivers finished that by saying, pray for me. I'm sorry that this has been nearly an hour and it's supposed to be like 10 minutes long. Oh gosh. So, but I need to talk to you in person because I've had to, I'm having to do something, contact someone that you know. And the thing is, your friends Gurmit and Eben lying to me, and they're supposed to be believers. You know, you were arrested in Eben's flat over her keys. I just feel like you've, you know, because I've got so much time to work things out, because I need that space from you. But is that me overthinking, or is that because people are like saying you need space from him? Or they've all been saying that you've been abusing me, as if you've gone out of your way to do all of these things. And then, because the frightening thing is, I felt like YHWH woke me up. Was it 2 days ago? I thought I felt like he had woken me up because a thought was put into my head, and I woke up as I got that thought, and it was like, whoa, what? As if he was trying to say, hey, Bryony, do you remember that time when? I wasn't thinking, I wasn't dreaming. I woke up with this thought. It was like he was going, oi, Bryony, Bryony, do you remember that time when? I've already forgotten what it was now. And no, it's not that it didn't, I haven't forgotten about it because it doesn't matter. I can't remember what it was, but it was like, oh no, I've forgotten what it was now, but it does matter. But it's all these things. I mean, your father said, why do these things keep happening? Anyway, so let's just keep to the point. So Gurmit and Eben, they've both lied to me. Let's just stick to the points here, the facts, because this is not about this is not gaslighting. These are the facts. You know, 1 minute saying I don't know what happened to your possessions. Oh, I do. Now, I cleaned out the filter in Gurmit's washing machine, right? Which I've done for myself. That to get the washing machine working. She had stuff clogging it up. I cleaned out the mold in the where the washing machine um where the drawer all the there was because there was mold in there, so I cleaned it all out. So I had to she doesn't realize this, but uh I flooded her kitchen floor, cleaned it all up, got her washing machine working again by cleaning out the filter, so that I could, not being rude, I'm not being funny, yeah, so that I could use the washing machine. But I got her washing machine working because it wasn't working before that. And then I bought her a nice bouquet of flowers. Now, I'd already explained to Eben that you had been arrested in her flat. I did not even want you to be arrested. But even the police call handler was like, oh, domestic abuse. Now she was aware, the call handler recognised that what you were doing was domestic abuse. And I rang the police call handler was a foreign call handler. It's always the foreign ones who are helpful, not the English ones. And you know, I hated it. I hated the whole thing, Darren. I hated it. I've told you this. I was telling someone who had laughed at my tears in A&E with PC Harriet, who called you a knob, and you screamed down the phone at me. And PC Harriet and the silly little girl were both looking at each other and laughing. And that PC Harriet had called you a knob. He said, well, I wouldn't treat my, because he'd said he's a knob, Bryony. I wouldn't treat my wife like that. And then they're laughing at me, and I hadn't cried like that for a long time. I was screaming and crying. I had been arrested out of the psychiatric unit illegally when they're the ones who put me in there. Then I've got PC Harriet calling you a knob, and you're screaming down the phone at me, and I've got a nurse in A&E crying for me, and she's saying he can't come down. He can't come down because he's talking about you, Darren. He can't come down. He's too angry. So the nurse is crying for me. I'm crying my eyes out because Darren won't come down, because you, Darren, won't come and see me because you're angry that the police have called you a knob. But how they called you a knob? Did PC Harriet call you a knob because of what you have been doing in the background? Do you see what I mean, Darren? You've got to be honest with me, because it's going to fall on somebody's head. And I only want it to fall on the heads of those who have willingly abused me. I love you, Darren. And that silly little girl, the police girl, I said to her in Eben's flat, I said to her, arrest Darren, and they wouldn't arrest you. But then, because you went on to assault me over Eben's keys, then you were arrested. And DC Kamar, CAMAR, I think I recorded the phone conversation. He said, I've got Darren in custody. I was so confused, hurt, angry. I was screaming at them to arrest you when they wouldn't arrest you. And I was angry that they didn't arrest you. But I was also angry because I didn't want them to arrest you. I thought, why would you all of this happen, Darren? Do you want all of this chaos? Your mother said we could have a good life together. That's all I've ever wanted. You said you saw me as like a wife. I mean, do you see what I mean? So there we go. You know, this is all I've ever wanted. So then get Gurmit. I'm in her flat in Upperton Gardens, opposite Humphrey and Co. Across the road from where I was raped, 2011. And she comes back from Nigeria. I'm ready. I've got a bouquet of flowers for her. I've booked into a hotel, and she's saying, no, don't leave, Bryony, don't. You can stay here. And I'm like, well, no, you've come back. I cleaned up her flat. Got it. I scrubbed. I bought a brand new mop and bucket, brand new flowers. I go into a hotel. She's telling me to stay in her flat. Your Christian friend Eben is telling me to stay in her flat. She's a Christian. She's a lawyer. She's come back from Nigeria. I've left my things in her flat. I then get that brand new flat at SDR Living. They're literally putting down brand new carpets. And yet it's a botch up job by the council because I had leaks. Oh, there seems to be an ongoing, there seems to be an ongoing pattern here, doesn't there, with every place that I've been in that's had leaks, bed bugs, dust mites, so many leaks. I can't count the number of leaks. The woman in the flat next door to me also had leaks. I'm then locked out of that flat on news my father had died. I've also at the same time I've had the police abusing powers. Dan, that vile troll, and his community harassing me. I had an obscene phone call in the early hours. The evidence is all on on my YouTube channel. And the Metropolitan Police refuse to investigate evidence of an anonymous call, of an obscene phone call. And this was at the same time I was being harassed by people from Dan's police abusing powers community. Then I've also got Paul, Warrior Wales. His YouTube channel is Warrior Wales, saying to me that in the police abusing powers Discord group, they're all saying they want me to suicide. Well, this is all actually very serious. It's all very, very criminal, don't you think? So why is no one doing anything about it? Because incitement to suicide is manslaughter. So Dan and his police abusing powers YouTube channel, Warrior Wales, Paul, what did you do with that information? If you watch this, this video is actually supposed to really be a personal message to my partner, a heartfelt message, but there's also, I'm obviously addressing, other issues here. Then Gurmit had left a note for me threatening to dispose of my possessions. Juliet Rawson, who had already written to the former MP Caroline Ansell, saying that she witnessed me being attacked at 12 Belmore Road, which I've got evidence of these criminals attacking me, blood on my door, bedroom window smashed, all this stuff going on. Police were arresting me, yet what happened to the email from Juliet Rawson, a cancer patient, to the former MP? What happened to that email? What happened to Caroline Ansell, who's also supposed to be a Christian, just like Eben and Gurmit, your friends, Darren? And so Eben is now threatening in a note to dispose of my possessions. And I then ask Juliet, the cancer patient, to speak to your Christian friend Eben over her abuse of me, threatening to dispose of my possessions. Now, Juliet Rawson is now dead and she's a support worker. The care coordinator was sacked. I'm locked out of this flat on news my father has died. My sisters have illegally gone through my father's things without me, according to the Swan advocate, Joanna Standing. Do you see? I'm dealing with all of this on my own, and Gurmit lied to me. She lied because she knew. Because Eben was saying, oh, some of your things were taken by someone, stolen. Oh, I had to get rid of them. Oh, someone took them. She couldn't make up her mind, and Gurmit knew this. Gurmit's a liar. And what is Gurmit? She used to be a Sikh and now she's an evangelistic Christian. Well, I'm sorry, but Gurmit and Eben, and even Juliet, who's now deceased, cancer patient, all let me down. And you know what? Juliet was saying that you, Darren, should not have made me feel bad about what happened to your hand. I don't think you did. Because she and Joanna Standing, the Swan advocate, said it's not my fault, that I shouldn't feel bad. But I do feel bad about what happened to your hand, and I do feel responsible. It hurts me. But then I was hurting myself. I was buying these knives. I was wanting to hurt myself. I was buying washing line wire and putting it round my neck. Because I lost my flat of 7 years. I had that flat before you came along, Darren. Now, why didn't you care for the carers? Because I've told them you're not my carer. You and Morrison wants evidence of your caring role as a reason to give me what I should have anyway, which is what they've been taking from me, which is a roof over my head. This is Eastbourne Borough Council. They've committed serious, heinous crimes against me, and now crimes against humanity. My free speech. So, Darren, I love you no matter what. You could do anything, and I still love you. You, Bronya and Tanya, despite what's already happened. But don't pass the buck between each other. Oh, it's your sisters, it's your sisters, it's your sisters. You left me to sleep rough. I would never, ever, ever have you sleep rough. Are you scared of me? Because you shouldn't be. You can't be. Well, okay, maybe you are. Maybe you are scared of me. Maybe there's something you're not telling me. Maybe you are scared of me. There you go, I've said it. Because I did actually have some, and I shouldn't be saying it on my YouTube channel, but I did actually have someone from, I think it was the crisis team years ago. They said to me, do you think maybe your partner's scared of you? So maybe you are. And I'm not cross with you. I understand. Because we've all got our demons. I don't know what it's like to deal with me. I don't know what it's like to be you, to deal with me. I only know what it's like to be me and to deal with you. And I just wish you knew the agony. But I've said it to your face, I think that you're enjoying this. But that would make you the devil. And but that would be too disturbing for words, because the same person who, we know that the devil is the master of all. We know that the devil can deceive. He is Lucifer, the light bearer. He comes as an angel of light to deceive the masses. But, and I think maybe I should remember that, because you could still come to me as a man of YHWH and still do the devil's work. But it still doesn't make sense, because in my heart, I looked into your eyes when I first got with you, Darren, and I was like, I could have done what Helen Hipperson did. I could have mocked you. I could have been like, oh, mocked your mother to your face and gone, oh, my son was sent to you. But I didn't do that. You know, and because of course any mother who says, oh, my son was sent to you, no, but I didn't mock your mother for saying that, because I already felt it in here. This is why I'm making these YouTube videos, because this is real. You know, Donna Summers, this time I know it's for real. Real. Okay, so I haven't had lots of relationships. I'm not a woman of the world. Because I'm not of the world. I'm in the world. I'm a woman of YHWH. I need someone who is, and you're the only person, Darren, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that. I mean it. I'm speaking from my soul is talking to you, and I hope you get to hear this. My soul is talking to you, Darren. And I don't want to talk any more deeply other than what I'm already saying. I don't want to say anything else I say to you is private. It's between me and you. But I'm telling you, I absolutely hate this. I hate it. But I also, the only thing that I like about this is just putting the truth out there. Obviously, it's fun to talk about funny, humorous anecdotes, but anything between you and me is private. But I want you to know this. I just want you to hear this, because I can't get the help that I need. It is out there. I mean, Adam Ant said it. Stuart Goddard, when he wrote to me about his demons of mental illness in that Channel 4 documentary, and then this is in 2003, he said, there is help out there, but you just have to be able to find it. No, it's all, as you and I both know, it's all fear and control. But I don't want you to abuse that fear and control that they use, right? I'm 43. I've been trying to get help since I was 14, 15. I've come this far without taking drugs and all of that. You know, Dr. Innes Cameron from the Channel Islands. He said, you and your sister need trauma-based therapy. Then I had nothing but you. I don't know about you, Darren, but I've never been arrested before you came along. I properly full on purged demons when you came along, and you saw it for yourself. My cry for help, and that was it. I'm now on Sussex Police radar, and they can now do whatever they like with me, kind of thing. Oh God. So dissociative identity disorder is what MK Ultra victims have. Bronya, they've turned her into a man and given her a dissociative identity disorder. They've given her a dissociative disorder, sorry. But to me, that sounds pretty much the same as DID, which is what the MK Ultra mind control video. I mean, John Alexander Patterson said to me, he was from the Royal Commission and he was in the psychiatric unit. He said to me, they don't get to the root of the problem. I said, no. but if I identify as a man, me and my transgender sister need trauma-based therapy. They've beaten me, they've sexually assaulted me, they've arrested me countless times, they've threatened me with being a political prisoner, and yeah, nothing but trauma, nothing but trauma, nothing but. But I suppose if I was to suddenly say, NHS 111, do you know what? I've had enough of being a woman. I think I need to be a man. Oh, really? All right, then they'd throw all the help at me. Then this thing wouldn't matter, a disability bus pass. Anyway, so, yeah, so I wanted to say what I wanted to say about Gurmit, and you know, Darren, I just really want you to know I'm going to wrap this up now, because this is meant to be 15 minutes at the most, and it's been an hour and 18 minutes. Your father. When I first saw your father, as you know, it was like a carrot being dangled in front of me. Oh, I can't live without you, Darren. I don't care about anyone else. I love you. But you know that when I saw your father, no, I'm not just saying this. I felt like I've got a family now and I don't need to worry now. I mean, yeah, I felt like I had to put on the airs and graces, but I felt I got tearful when I looked at your father, because I immediately thought of my father. As soon as I looked at your father, and your brother and your sister, and your mother, and I felt, and it's not because of the class thing. The class thing does play a big part. Don't ask me why, it's just one of those things. And I'm not a snob. I am what I am. I'm neither left nor right or a snob, but I am what I am. I'm me. I'm different. I'm like you. You and I, we're outcasts. We're not part of society or the world. But I felt like you're a connection. And then I felt like this. I felt like it's like the devil's gone. Here's a carrot. Here's a carrot. And then, like that. You've been more than just a partner. You've been like a brother, and that is the basis for a true relationship. A brother in YHWH, right? Like it starts with friendship. There's nothing sexual. That's how it's supposed to be. Erica Kirk said it herself. She said this has got to be the sort of person you can bring home to your mother. You're exactly the sort of person I wanted to bring home to my mother. Exactly the person. That's why you're the only person I took you to my mother's resting place. I won't take anybody else there. I won't even say on YouTube where my mother's resting place is. You're the only person I would take. I haven't even been there since I did go there to try and kill myself, and I slept rough in a field nearby, and because I felt like I've just lost my flat. What is going on? We're supposed to have a good life together. What's going on here? And all of that. So, I'm going to sound like a simpleton saying this. If you were none of these beautiful things, I wouldn't react with so much anger and hurt and I wouldn't make any of these bloody videos. I hate these videos, absolutely. I never use the word hate. So if you hear me use the word hate, as I'm using it right this very second, I absolutely detest this. That's the French word for hate. To detest. I hate this. I hate it. And I would just walk away from you if I didn't love you, if I didn't feel. But it's because I love you that I'm hurting and angry and don't want to, because I didn't want any of this. And this is why I'm so confused. I'm praying out loud all the time. I'm praying for the heat. Pardon me. I'm praying for me. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for the healing of you, Bronya, even Tanya. I'm praying for the healing of your bodies and your souls. Because I'm praying for the healing of your left hand, your fingers. I'm praying for the healing of your soul, and particularly Bronya as well. The healing of her soul and body and her physical, because she's critically disabled, and I didn't even know that till I saw her. Now I've just seen. I'm going to finish up now, because this Dan Wootton. I've just seen a Dan Wootton video, and he's described John Cleese as a filthy scumbag, and it is so disappointing to see. But it's also very sad. It's really pitiful and sad to see John Cleese saying the things, and it's actually making me think of my father as well. Is it, my father used to. I read somewhere on his Facebook that he served him when he was in Monty Python. My father also used to serve Del Boy, David Jason back in the early 80s. My father was a London bus driver and a booking clerk, it said on my birth certificate. So he must have done more than one thing, but anyway. But it's just so sad. It's so sad, and it is physically sick. I didn't even know he was on the hard left, but you and I both know that that Australian X Factor winner. That Australian X Factor winner, I never watched the whole video because it was like 3 to 5 hours long. But one of the most disturbing things is he said most people's childhood hero is John Cleese, and he's doing the one eye symbolism and saying how he hates our saviour. But anyway, sorry, I feel a bit sick. I'm just gonna have to just a second. Yeah, so I just want to wrap this up. I just want to say, just because it's easier to talk in person. Um, I one thing I've learned about YouTube is that you have to be careful because well, it's a bit like TV programming. You wake up to everything. There's deception everywhere in everything. There are grifters. I didn't even know what a grifter was until I came across these people and things. And like you were telling me, Darren, to look up Liam Tufts, and I looked him up, and I realised because you and I have got the same algorithms, we watch the same stuff. And then this guy from the Daily Agenda is saying that Liam Tufts' father sells transgender sex toys, and yet Liam Tufts has interviewed Kelly J. Keane, who's exposing all the evils of the you know, and and then she turned funny towards me. She and her because they're supposed to support people like me, but I'm not into joining all these cults. So then it leaves you wondering, well, who's a cult, who's a grifter, and should I have just gone along with the same thing that's got me where I am today, surviving all the insanity of everything, life, um, which is that to treat everyone and everything with suspicion because it's all BS, it's all cult. You know, there's always seems to be something like, how did this person get to this position? How did this person? And to be perfectly honest, I had a funny feeling that Kelly J. Keane might behave the way she ended up behaving towards me. But then there was that Irish woman that encouraged it. But this is what the enemy does. Once you know what scripture is telling you, but Kelly J. Keane is an atheist. So someone said that she came out of the church of that she's funded by that hateful church that what's his name? Um, oh, um, the only of all the famous people I've ever met, I think autographs and things like that are pathetic, and yet I'm about to refer to the man the only person I've ever asked in my entire life for an autograph, and I don't know why. Of all people, Louis Theroux. Oh my God, no, no. I only did it because Bronya asked me to ask him at the Here and Now tour. Yeah, the hateful church, the one that thought that upset everybody, including me, when they said that Princess Diana split the grounds of hell open when she died, and they go around with um, posters and banners saying that things about homosexual people that I can't repeat. Um, and they're just doing it for controversy, and there's nothing scriptural in what they do, and it's all, oh, I don't know, but it's all insanity out there. But that was disgusting. A Halloween costume, oh, of Erica Kirk. That's disgusting. Whoever made that. I mean, I feel bad, Darren, that I have made videos simply based on what I'm seeing other people saying, and it's influenced my own thinking. And I feel that in my heart that Erica Kirk is genuine, but I'm influenced by, I mean, I don't disbelieve what they've said about this charity scam, this charity scandal that sounded the same as what Oprah Winfrey was part of. I don't disbelieve that. Someone somewhere has got all this knowledge, but to criticize her, a grieving woman, when you can clearly see in some videos where she's got red eyes and she's crying her eyes out, no one, I mean, at my mother's, my soulmate mother's funeral, I felt like I was faking tears. I hated it. I thought, why am I not getting any emotion out? I can't cry. But Janet, Iris's daughter, who was a paramedic herself, said to Tanya, and you know she's ended at her 50-year friendship with my eldest sister. And she told Tanya that she would lose me as a sister. Even Janet said, I think Bryony will probably, the emotion in Bryony will come out later. And that pain has only come out of me since I've been with you, Darren. So being with you has churned up all of this whatever is deep within, and like an explosion, especially in times of crisis. Because you're not wrong. I was living in clutter before you came along, but I'm cross because I'm like, well, you took a caring role. Why didn't you tell these people she's got OCD like me? She needs help with this disability. And there are people out there, a lot of people out there who do help with this. There are people in the West. It's always in the West, mostly in places like North America. Bigger the house they have, the more room they have to fill it with crap. But I wasn't just filling it with crap. Bronya was dumping my mother's things on me. So you're not wrong about my sisters in that respect. Because they told the hospital I do this all the time. And they were creating the disability which Eastbourne Borough Council have also exploited, and the local MP Caroline Ansell and now Josh Burundi and his caseworker Ewan Morrison have used and abused and scapegoated you into a caring role for me, and it's been more than just a disaster. So your father wasn't wrong when he said to me, if you and I had lived together, it would have been a disaster. But what about all of this? I haven't seen your parents for 9 years, and I've just had to be patient. I've had to lay low. I've taken Alan's advice. You know Alan, whose father was a high-ranking Freemason. An interceptor, the one who had to stop Princess Margaret from marrying Peter Townsend. That Alan, yes. I've taken his advice, and I've done that. And I have to continue doing that, but I have to do what's right through Yeshua, and that's what I'm doing. And that's why I'm still here. So, so that's, yeah, I'm being, careful. lastly, but not least, I've said everything I want to say. I'll finish on a humorous note. You can laugh at this as well if you like, Darren. The troll, I said I wouldn't respond to any trolls. Well, do you know what? So I'm going to finish on just this note. What really makes me laugh is when someone, particularly a troll, namely a troll, someone that has never commented on my videos before, they realise they've got to go through hundreds of videos to find, oh, where can I post a comment? I get pleasure out of knowing that. Oh, where can I post it? So they have to go, and that troll has left a comment saying that basically I'm on a, I can't even remember what they said, it was so insignificant, but words to the effect that I'm on a never ending, revolving door, that history is repeating itself, sort of thing. No, it's repeating itself for the troll, because the troll has to go all the way back to find where can I comment. In the end, they think, I'll go back to the very first video that Bryony ever made to make a comment. Oh yes, I can comment. How sad is that? And how sad is it that they think that I'm the one who's on a never... No, this is actually going to come to a head. I'm very close, very, very close to getting to where I need to get to. They are the ones that are paranoid, and I think they need to stop smoking cannabis. I think you really need to stop smoking cannabis, because you need to remember that your body is a temple, and what you put inside of it, and it's not natural to smoke. So even if you think a doctor has told you that it's helpful to smoke cannabis, well, I'll tell you what, Darren and I wouldn't have you anywhere near us, because we can't stand being anywhere near smoke. So it's not good for you, for your mind, your body, and it's not good for you socially. So that's my word of advice to you. And get out there, go and help someone in the community. Go to a church, preach the word of YHWH. I know my words will be lost on those people, but stay away from police abusing powers. So yeah. Anyway, that was a message to a troll. For anyone who's watched, this is actually a message from my partner, a personal message from my partner, but it's also there for anyone. Well, it's a YouTube video, isn't it? But it's all very personal. So on that note, Darren, I need to regroup with you. I need to just... I know this is hard. This is very hard. But I am really serious about my faith and you are about yours. Then there's no reason why we can't get through this. If you love me, well, I love you. And the thought that, well, I don't want to keep repeating it on here. I don't want, because this is not good. This is just a screen, and that's it. So I say Shalom YHWH, and let's regroup. And I've said everything I want to say. Yeah, Dan Witten and all. Yeah, I've said everything I want to say. Oh yes, and there's a woman of YHWH, of God, and maybe she's... I hope she's seen at least some of this. Okay, I'll say over and out.